Hey everyone, it's Ogberjudge.
And Maras.
And welcome back to the Rune Factory playthrough and commentary. So in this part, and what we're doing right now actually, we're basically going to take our final run through this dungeon as soon as I stop swinging at nothing. And what that basically involves is getting rid of all of the machines that are in the dungeon. Which someone would have told us if we'd bothered talking to them, but we didn't.
Yeah, we know this already. We don't need to ask around.
Yeah. When you're on your big run through, I really suggest using save spots, obviously. And if you get the silence status cast on you, I really suggest, like, the rest of the time it's a bit of a bother. When you're doing your big run, it's a real bother. So if you get that hit on you, then just reset, which is what I was doing there.
Yeah.
I mean, poison obviously you can heal with antidote plants, so that's not such a big deal. But silence, it's you know, you're going to be using it to get out of the dungeon in the end. You might want to use it in case you're not quite leveled up enough, you know. So generally, just reset if that happens to you. There's only, I think, the archer guys and the ants can do it to you, but you should never be hit by the archers because their aim is rubbish. And yeah, normally I don't think it's supposed to go quite this smoothly. I think it's supposed to be quite a challenge to get through the dungeon, but
yeah, I think you've been focusing much more on the fighting than the game expects.
So the reason we didn't go into this room... Oh, I'll level up. The reason we didn't go into this room before is that door shuts behind you, and it won't open until you defeat the machine that's in there. So that's how come you got stuck in there when you were telling us about your story from yesterday. And here's a little trick. If you leave a room and come back, the enemies despawn, so you can just get to the machine without having to worry about bees stinging you. I repeatedly abused that particular little trick.
Yeah.
There's nothing past those 4 poison spots there. It's a dead end, and the poison is there just to be a pain, just to troll you.
Yes.
I mean, you'd know this if you look up a map online, and you probably should be doing that, so...
Yeah, this is going very smoothly. Just...
Yep. So this is what I was talking about last time, where because we planted all those bits right at the beginning, I can just use the escape spell to walk back to the beginning and grab the rune points from there. If I'd planted them halfway through the dungeon, I'd have to backtrack to halfway through the dungeon and then backtrack again. So I don't know. I find it a little bit easier to do that, especially because obviously now that we've got no machines on the way there, it's a very quiet trip back to where we were. I mean, there is what the game I think expects you to do is plant some vegetables, you know, throughout the dungeon to sort of keep you topped up as you're going through. But yeah, I don't bother with that.
Yeah, there's not really much of a need to have them throughout the cave at this stage.
No.
Maybe in the harder caves.
Well, in some of them it becomes mandatory to grow plants in certain places, but we'll get to those much later. The only problem with this method is that I need to use a second antidote plant. Oh, here I'm just rearranging the menu so that my potions are basically lined up right next to the sword, rather than being interrupted by a sickle. That's all that was. It was so short I didn't bother cutting it out. Save here, definitely. 100% you want to save there in this particular dungeon. And then we get this guy, who we should have talked to a lot earlier and didn't. So he kind of has, because he has kind of 2 roles here now. The first role is to give you the sort of things that he would have told you if you talked to him earlier, and the second role is to basically do what he'd say here, because he pops up here either way. He has something to say here about basically there's something big behind that door, I'm out of here. But yeah, he also gives you the sleeping bag, so why don't you tell us about the sleeping bag and how useless it is?
I can't even remember what it does. Like, I tried using it, but ended up with a cold, anyway, so I don't think it serves no purpose.
That's what the sleeping bag does. No, the sleeping bag actually it allows you to stay in a dungeon overnight. It heals a little bit of your HP, but it doesn't heal your rune points, or it heals very little of your rune points. It's basically in case you take far too long to get through a dungeon, and like you've done 3/4 of the machines, but it's 10 o'clock in the evening, and so you just use the sleeping bag to keep the machines from respawning, but be on the next day, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, it's pointless.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the boss, and Mist is here to tell us, you know, the boss, it's you know, just been dragged here, we mustn't kill it, we have to use Retornen on it, which I still think is a pointless mechanic. And she'll be popping up at the end of every dungeon as well. I don't question how she gets there with that one, because we've already wiped out all the machines for her to stroll through, so... I mean, I don't know, she must have a stash of antidote plants or something to get through the poison? I don't know. It doesn't much matter, because the boss is down already.
Wow.
We had some real trouble with that boss our first time through, didn't we?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think I did a little bit too much grinding, maybe. And so Mist is happy that we killed... Sorry, Retorned the boss. And we're happy that we did it as well. Huzzah! Good to know. Plotline, mystery, what's happening, where are these machines coming from? It's a very loose plot. It serves really just to justify, I think, to justify the caves and monsters element, I suppose.
Yeah, it's sort of like to justify the pacing of the plot. I mean, of getting to new game elements.
Yeah. I think the biggest storyline in general, the mayor's manor closed at 6 and now it's 7, so we can't get our pass for the next cave. Anyway, yeah, it kind of justifies the last couple of bosses, I think. Everything else, you could have just said there are monsters living in these caves, and, you know...
Yeah.
The last couple of bosses are, yeah, really very much justified by the story rather than just being in caves. So not sure what I was doing with my time there. I sort of walked into the cave and appeared outside thanks to the power of editing. I must have been mining, considering I've got all this ore suddenly in my inventory.
Yes.
And that is probably the last time we'll be mining in that particular cave. I've really had time to waste, so I had nothing better to do, I guess.
Yeah, the further you get in the, like, the better caves you get into, the better ore you get.
Yes.
You'll start getting gemstones and gold and such.
Yeah, well, we might be seeing some gemstones in the second half of this video. Who knows? Well, I know, but I recorded it. But yeah, you start getting generally better materials. You know, as you say, gold, and later on you can get platinum. I mean, they do sell for more, but the gemstones really are your bigger sellers. The gold and the platinum are for crafting things, basically.
Yeah.
Which again requires that you have a bigger house, so you best be chopping up that wood. So now that it's the next day and the mayor's house is actually open.
Good morning.
Oh yeah, and the mayor has a little bit of a chat about the plot as well. Mystery, ooh. I think pretty much the plot goes mystery, ooh, mystery. Oh, you're in the second to last dungeon now, we'd better actually say something.
Yeah.
It's not... The plot itself isn't very well paced either. I mean, we're saying all these bad things about the game, how it's not very well paced, and how certain elements are kind of broken, but, you know, it's still an enjoyable game.
Yeah, it's a really fun game to play. I mean, it's not a well-made game, but it's fun to play.
I mean, obviously it did well enough that it got sequels. I think I said this before, so I don't know if the sequels are any better. I imagine they are.
I'd hope so.
So this is the next cave. This is Taurus Cave, and as usual, Misty's going to meet up with us in the entrance. And she says something that's completely meaningless and... Oh yeah, she wants to tutorial us about how it doesn't change seasons in a cave, but I already told everyone about that, so I don't need her to tell us. And she talks about phantom crops. I already talked about that too, because we got one from an ant.
Yes.
So each cave has one season. This has the season of fall or autumn. It kind of uses both terms in this game. You could have figured that out from the fact that I bought some some autumn seeds earlier.
Yep. Oh yeah, you despawned him. Yes, I see.
Yep. I don't think he'll bother you because you know, I'm off to do some work on the farm. Obviously, I don't think he'll bother you if you leave him here, leave him there. But I wanted to be safe, and you know, takes a few sword swings to get rid of that machine.
Sometimes the enemy is sort of what's sort of editing there? Sometimes the enemies, if you run fast enough to the other end of the screen, they'll sort of stay outside of your field of vision. They won't follow you. So I think he might have done that.
Yeah, I think that's probably what would have happened. I would have sort of just been outside of his his little patrol zone, I guess. But I wanted to be sure. So yeah, montage of healing there. You'll listen. That's what I'm going to do anytime that I need to heal and so on. It's just, you know, you don't want to see me, you know, sort of going all the way to the bathhouse and mixing up potions and so on and so forth. So, you know, I'll make a little montage just to show just how much healing is actually needed, because there's quite a bit of work to do on those plots of land. There's 8 plots there, 8 3x3 plots in that little area, and I wanted to get everything planted all at once there. I talked about how the 4 plots in the other cave are quite convenient. Those 8 plots there are, I would say, the most convenient sources of rune points in the game. Once you get something grown there, they are the most convenient source of just charging up, because they're very near to your house. Most of the dungeons are in that direction from your house, so it's fairly close to the other dungeons, and certainly if you teleport back to your house, then it's on the way to those other dungeons. Those ones are much closer to the entrance. Well, they're generally a bit closer to the entrance than the ones in the first dungeon. And I'm growing sweet potatoes there, and sweet potatoes are yummy. What am I doing? Is it? Oh, it's the next day, so I'm okay. Yeah. I didn't. I unfortunately got that guy spawned, but yeah, I just killed him. I think he can do paralysis on you, which prevents you from running, which is an annoyance, but nothing horrible. I mean, you can still teleport. Use the escape spell to get out of the dungeon and so on.
Yeah. Yeah, it only matters if you're doing the final run on the dungeon.
Well, I suppose, like, you know, if you're going around the dungeon fairly late and, you know, you might not be able to get from A to B, or you might want to dodge some enemies. So, as we're mining here, we're picking up some pink-looking gemstones. Those are what this game calls sapphires. And they're going to be your main source of income for a good while, at least. I'm going to scroll down to them here. They sell for 700 each. These ones are level 1, and as I said before, it's level times the base selling price. You can get them at higher levels than 1. You can get ridiculous levels of some things. I'm not sure how high the levels of those particular things can get. So, yeah, once again working on a giant plot of land there. This one is, I think it's 9 3x3 plots. It's a big 9x9 square of land there. And this is me making sure that I won't die from using my axe on this particular tree stump. And it looks like I would have died, so I decided to heal myself a little bit. It's a real waste of those healing grasses to do that, but I'm the kind of person who goes, well, I can do one more and it'll only take 1 healing herb, so I will just use 1. So after that, how much wood do I have? I'm not even sure. 599 wood. Still nowhere near the 2,000. Yeah. So that's the end of this part. I think that was an action-packed part this time.
Yeah, somewhat.
Well, we ran through a dungeon and took on a boss. A very short boss fight, but we took on a boss.
Yes.
So, thanks for watching, everyone, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.